It's so nice to look out in the crowd and see so many people I know, and so many people here tonight. So yeah, welcome everybody. My name's Kirsty Bevan, for those of you that don't know me, and I'm the CEO of the Conservation Council of South Australia. And I'm going to be your MC tonight, but my voice has chosen to not be a friend today, and I may lose it. So if I lose my voice, although my family will be very happy, I may need to hand the MC over to somebody else. Now, before we go any further, I will acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Kaurna people, and we will hear very shortly from Cliffy Wilson. Before we go there, I will just do some of those welcome VIPs that we do ordinarily at these award events. So I am going to acknowledge Cliffy in the room, and thank you very much for coming today. I am going to also acknowledge the Gugatha elder here, Ani Sue, who Sue Coleman Hasseldine has made a trip down from Kaurna country, all the way from Ceduna tonight. I will acknowledge Emily Burke, the new Environment Minister, and we will hear from Emily Burke later today. She'll get up and do a little bit of a speech for a few minutes. And I just want to acknowledge that we're all feeling a little frustrated at the moment. There's lots going on, but we have a new Environment Minister, and we have an opportunity to really build a strong relationship with that minister to try to see some positive change. So tonight, I really hope humbly that you can welcome her to the stage, and maybe we'll get to learn a little bit more about her. And I hopefully, Minister Burke, you can stick around a bit and meet some of the wonderful people that are part of our sector. I'd also like to welcome Melanie Selwood, who's one of the newest members of the Legislative Council, the Honourable Jeff Brock MP, member for Stewart, the Department of Environment and Water CE Ben Bruce, Green Adelaide President, Board President and Professor Chris Daniels, and Director Brenton Greer, Adelaide University Environment Institute Director Andy Lowe, and many other esteemed guests, which I could name off many of you who have achieved amazing things, but we'd be here all night. Okay, so I will start by welcoming Cliffy Wilson to do our Welcome to Country. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Good evening. How are we all? Doing well? All just a bit warmer than I am, so that's nice. Lucky yous. Nah, it's not too bad, actually. Lucky we're not outside. Heaters are on, so that's good. Look, before I get into a Welcome to Country, I always like to start by saying what an honour it is for me to be here, to represent firstly the Kaurna community, the traditional custodians here to the Adelaide region, but also to stand up here to represent my family, which I'm a part of the first generation of my family, to be able to relearn Kaurna language and connect back with culture. But then I also work for Kumakaru Cultural Services, which is an organisation based here in Adelaide, where I'm fortunate I've got a platform to be able to showcase language and culture in many different ways on a daily basis throughout the city of Adelaide. Tonight I will do that through a Welcome to Country. So I'd like to welcome you in the language of the Kaurna people, and I want to start by saying, Nyanka Namiana, Ngā Mani. Mani. Ngā Nari Cliffy Tunkel, Munaicha Wilson. Ngā Kaurna, Ngarrindjeri, Narunga, Ngadjuri, Arundel. Mariwachanga Kaurna Miuna, Nadlo Tampandi, Nadlo Gani Yatanga Tikandi. Ngā Wonga di Mani de Budni Gani Yatana, Naichu Yukandalia Yakandalia. Nachalia. So to translate that, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, it's good to see you all. It's good to see you doing well. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cliffy Wilson. Down here on Kaurna country, my traditional names are Tunkel and Munaicha. So as always, I'd like to take a moment to explain about those names so you all have an understanding of what they are and what they mean to me. So the first one, Tunkel, is my individual totem, which can range from native plants and trees we have in this country, native animals, or sometimes it could be the tools and artefacts that we've created over time. So our role in community is to then become the protector of whatever that may be. So I was given an animal, so just a few rules that I have to go by. I can't hunt, kill, or eat that animal. And if I was to see it sick or injured, it's then my duty of care to nurture that back to health. Now, I always say when I was having a discussion with my elders many years ago to get my totem, we forgot to sit down and talk a little bit about my safety, because Tunkel's the king brown snake, one of the most dangerous animals in the country, so they've kind of thrown me under the bus with that one. I appreciate them for that. No, I always like to have some fun with that one. Munaicha, however, is my birth order name. So when a mother down on Kaurna country has given birth to children, all those children are given a birth order name. Munaicha, for me, it translates to the fourth born and male of my family. So my family are proud Kaurna people from here in the Adelaide Plains, and we're also proud Ngarrindjeri people from back on the lower lakes of the Coorong on the Fleurieu Peninsula. My family ties, however, also extend out to the Narunga people on the Yorke Peninsula, the Ngurri people heading out to the mid-north of South Australia, and lastly, the Eastern Arrernte people in the Northern Territory in Alice Springs. But may we recognise tonight we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and pay respects to their culture and spiritual beliefs, and recognise that their continuous connection to the land, the sky, and the waterways that surround and connect us are still as strong, still as important, but also just as resourceful to the living Kaurna people today. I'd like to pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, and give a special thank you to those who paved the way for me to be standing here this evening to speak my traditional language. And welcome you all here, not only to Kaurna country, but I always like to recognise when I'm having this opportunity to recognise it's not a place just for Kaurna people, but it's a place that many people from many parts of the world and many cultural backgrounds now refer to as home. So I'd firstly like to acknowledge and pay respects to other Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander First Nations people across the country, but also recognise the many different religions, traditions and cultural backgrounds we have, not only in this room here tonight, but across the country of Australia again. So before I get out of here and put some warm clothes on and let you get on with the rest of your night, I would like to teach you all 2 words, and if you could say them tonight, that would be wonderful. So the first one I'd like to teach you is Naichalia. Can we say that one? Beautiful. So who's heard Naichalia before? Raise your hand. Yep. So for those who don't know what Naichalia means, it means thank you in the Kaurna language. So thank all of you for being a great audience and giving me your time, your attention and respect while I'm up here speaking. And as always, thank you to the staff and organisers for reaching out to Kumakara Cultural Services to give us a platform at your events and conferences to be able to represent the Kaurna community and showcase some of our language and culture. We always appreciate it, so thank you. But also want to teach you this one last word, which is nakara. Can we say that one? Nakara. Now, does anyone know what nakara means? Scream it out. See you later. That's right. See you later. Because Aboriginal people, we don't believe in goodbyes. We think we'll see each other again, whether it's in this life or when we pass on to the spiritual world. So that's right. Nakara means we'll see you again when our paths meet. So enjoy the rest of your night, and I'm going to go get warm. So I'll see you again soon. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And yes, I do recommend getting some clothes on. But if you do, you are more than welcome to stick around for the rest of the night. We've got some more food and some great celebrations. Thank you. I'm going to move right along now. I will acknowledge first and foremost that the Conservation Council has put a lot of effort into making these awards night happen, and we think they're really critically important, particularly as we are seeing progress not happen often at the rate that we want. And it's good to take pause and to really recognise amazing things that are happening within our state. But we do this also in partnership with a couple of other groups that I'd really like to just mention. So the first one is Green Adelaide, who are one of our major partners. Also the Department for Environment and Water and the Adelaide University Environment Institute. And it's just important to really highlight up front that these events couldn't happen without those contributions. So first up tonight, we're going to hear from David Bacon, who's our President of the Conservation Council, who's going to do a short speech.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm honoured to welcome you all here. As many of you know, I'm kind of a ring-in the last few years. I joined the movement when my daughter joined the school strike. So I've come from that side of things. I don't have a history in conservation, but I have been throwing the majority of my time into it for the last number of years. So it is an honour for me to be here standing in front of all of these people that have worked so hard for so long in this space. And I would like to welcome you to the Adelaide Zoo on World Environment Day. Just taking a moment to let that sink in, that today is the one day that we get to celebrate and reflect on the environment that we have around us. So I want to acknowledge, or we're here to acknowledge, all the South Australians who dedicate their time, their expertise and passion to protecting our environment. Before we begin, I just want to say Naichalia to Cliffy Wilson. I think he's already run off to get some clothes on, but thank you. We are increasingly trying to work on our relationships with the custodians of these lands, and I encourage everyone to work harder and to do more and to do whatever you can, because in a lot of cases, you know, they're doing better than we have, they know more than we do, and we need to follow their lead. So I just encourage everyone to do everything they can in that space. So we're here to shine a light on the individuals and groups whose commitment to nature makes South Australia a leader in environmental conservation. 28 years ago, we presented the first Jill Hudson Award. There probably are some people in this room that were at that, possibly, I'm not sure. I like to imagine that, there was an esky and a room and a ragtag bunch, 2 eskies, yeah. And, it's obviously evolved a long way over that time. So I would like to hope that the movement is evolving as well, and that we are getting more organised, and that we are getting better relationships with each other, and that we're learning how to do things. But sometimes it's a little frustrating. And sometimes I think we question how far we're getting and whether we're going to get there soon enough. But I think tonight plays a really important role in us being able to celebrate what we do win, how far we do get, the work that we all put in, and meet other people and spend time with people that care about the things that we do. So what began as a single award, back with a couple of eskies, has grown into a celebration of conservation science, nature protection, community building, and grassroots activism. And this year, like the fullness of this room, we received a huge number of applications, and I think that's a great sign as well. The competition was close, and there are familiar faces. There are people that have put lifetimes into the work, and we wish everyone the best. Whether you win or not, we're still acknowledging the work that you've done and the role that you've played. So we're not just here to recognise, we're here to invite everyone to keep nominating, sharing, celebrating, and building together. So whether you're within government, business, not-for-profit, or on the ground in local communities, we are united by a shared purpose to protect, restore, and care for South Australia's unique and irreplaceable environment, and in doing so, build a better future for generations to come. So thank you, and it's now my duty to welcome Emily Burke, MLC, Minister for Climate, Environment and Water, and the Minister for Tourism.
Well, thank you, David. And before I start, I'd like to start with a very big Namani, Mani Napudni, Nainari, Emily Burke, Ghana, Mina Nunajul, Ghana, Yata, Tempaninthi, acknowledging we're meeting on Ghana land in Ghana language, and thank Cliffy for his welcome to country. It is a really big privilege to be here tonight, and I'd also like to acknowledge Mel, who's here from the Upper House. The Upper House is representing tonight, so thank you for also being here and for getting to know you as well. I really appreciate your advocacy that you're also doing in the community. But to Ben Bruce, as the CEO of the Dew, I am new to the portfolio, and Ben and the team, it is a lot to take on a new minister, particularly one that asks lots of questions. And I really do want to say thank you for your patience and guidance as well over the last few months. But I also, David and Kirsty in particular, it's been lovely to get to know you and to seek your guidance as well. It's been an incredible opportunity to learn from you, as I hope to from many in this room, and I'm most happy to be staying back after this event to learn your stories, your advocacy, and what really does make us an ability to make change in our community. When coming along to this event tonight, it was suggested as an opportunity to share a little bit about where we've all come from in my story. And I think our childhood is often our greatest teacher. And it got me thinking about just that, as our childhood often teaches us and shapes us and really does increase our values of who we are and who we want to become. And like many, my childhood was actually quite simple. And to that, I see that as a great privilege. I grew up on the Yorke Peninsula. My family, a farming family, and we also ran a small engineering business. Our mornings started with conversations about the weather, and the evenings ended with conversations about the weather. And as a growing up, I saw this as quite normal. Our weekends were spent at my family business at Pine Point, and one of 5 children, we were always very busy. We would disappear for hours among the rocks formations along the coastline at Pine Point, and we'd play hide and seek for hours and hours, looking for crabs and returning only at night time. Looking back, these experiences were something that were very important to me, and as I said earlier, shaped who I am today. We grew up dependent on nature. We grew up dependent on the environment, and because of that, we grew up to respect it. That dependence wasn't just social or personal, as many occasions it's also economic. The family farm relied on rain, the engineering business relied on agriculture, and the community relied on the industries that relied on a healthy landscape and a healthy natural resources. Today, we have the numbers to put around what many, particularly in this room, know why this is so important. A recent Ernst & Young report found that 85% of South Australians exports and 53% of our economic activity and 35% of our workforce are moderately dependent on nature. And the numbers tell a story as well. Nature matters to everyday South Australians. In fact, 7 in 10 South Australians say they feel connected to nature through our national parks. That connection presents a real opportunity. Bringing together tourism, environment, climate and water creates an opportunity to share what so many people already are seeking: space, perspective and connection. In many ways, it is the simplicity of childhood, the chance to slow down, to stop, reconnect and do something that is deeply respectful. I don't want to spend tonight running through a long list of budget announcements, because there was over $100 million in this budget supporting environmental resilience, restoration and protection. There are a couple I'd like to briefly point to because they are personal. Like my childhood, Colin was shaped by land. Colin grew up on Mundoon Island Station in one of South Australia's most precious wetlands. For generations, his family farmed country and cared for it. Recently, he made the difficult decision, a decision that brought him to ending a century worth of grazing on this island. For the first time in generations, 1,900 of hectares of farmland will no longer carry cattle. Instead, it will become part of the Coorong National Park, backed by a $7 million investment in this budget that will help strengthen what has been deemed a critically endangered area in our environment, a wetland that is an asset that needs to be protected and returned to be a part of our national park. It is a reminder that conservation isn't always about choosing between people and nature. Often it's about making extraordinary decisions for nature. Just as words, nature, environment, climate change mean different things to different people, the pathways we take to protect them also look different. That's why I'm also excited about a project that was announced, the battery trial for our trains. This will be the first trial in Australia. For some, it's a transport project. For others, it's an environment project. For me, it's a practical example how innovation can help reduce emissions while improving services for people, everyday South Australians. And being a country kid, the lessons these have taught me is community is everything. Nothing happens without people willing to give their time, share their knowledge and advocate for something bigger than themselves. That is why I'm particularly proud that this budget also backs with a $13 million investment for grassroots environmental funding to help many organisations in this room tonight, from Friends of Park, land care groups, pastoral boards, local conservation groups and grants, and of course, the Conservation Council. Because while governments can provide investments, it's communities that create momentum. It is volunteers advocating for local champions to turn into action and who help people connect with place, who ensure the values we pass on to the next generation are the same values that shaped so many of us when we were growing up. Respect for nature, respect for community, and respect for the responsibility we all share in caring for both. And tonight, that is on display in full, between young people being in the room to people potentially being at the very first awards night. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for your advocacy. It is important. We cannot make change. We cannot hold ourselves responsible and accountable without that advocacy. And I do want to say thank you to each and every one of you because it goes a long way in creating the changes that I've just read out tonight. And in World Environment Day, I'd like to say thank you for bringing this together tonight for us to be able to celebrate each and every one of you. And I look forward to meeting you after the event.
Thank you, Minister. I hope everybody feels a little bit renewed with that and understanding a little bit more of the personal story of our new minister. I'm always the optimist, so I do hope that with continued advocacy and us banding together, we can continue to achieve great outcomes. You know, and there's people in this room that fought tirelessly, endlessly about Mundu Island. I know Faith sent me countless emails. I know I rallied with Susan Close when she was the Deputy Premier, and to see that come to fruition is really exceptional and hopefully a really big step towards some great gains for the Coorong. Thank you. So I also find this a great honour. I often say that my role as the CEO of the Cons Council is a really highly privileged position. I don't necessarily have any particular skills and I don't necessarily deserve this job more than anybody else here. So I hold it with great privilege. And I understand that I get a seat at a table that many of you don't get, purely because of that title, not because of who I am. So I hold it very, very dear to my heart that I am representing all of you when I hold those meetings. Particularly the meeting I had with the Premier this morning, where I stand very true to the values and to nature, and I speak very truthfully about the position we're in and the kind of strength and courage and advocacy we need from a state government. And I'll continue to do that. I want to also acknowledge more formally the role that the Kaurna community play for us. And I think more than anything, it's that an event like this is an opportunity to really formally recognise the truth that the First Nations people have had and been caring for country for tens of thousands of years. And they've cared for country guided by a knowledge, a wisdom for sustainability, which is what we're looking for, right? We're looking to care for our country in a sustainable way. And their wisdom shouldn't be historical, it's current. And we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to bridge those gaps, to work closer, to learn, humbly learn, and properly learn and continue to walk together. And I think nights like this, it's really important to acknowledge that. But we do come here tonight to celebrate. And really, the most amazing thing about these awards is we're celebrating not only achievements, but innovation, like incredible innovation. I sit on a panel of judges who go through the endless nominees, and it is so difficult to pick finalists, let alone winners. And I'm continually, and the judging panel can attest to it, saying, how do we let everybody know? Because it's really empowering. It's really invigorating to read about the amazing work that South Australians are doing. But the reality is this. Climate change isn't a distant threat. We're experiencing it now. It's accelerating at a rate that even the Environment Department put out a report, their climate assessment and Climate Risk Assessment and Opportunities Report, which basically states that our most critical areas will be under the most critical threat by 2090. Now, my gorgeous son is in the room. He's 12. He'll be in his 70s by that age. That's within his lifetime. And they've stated we've got 5 years to implement serious change. Now, that trajectory is with everything we're currently doing. So we need more. The Environment Department has declared we need more in the next 5 years. But yet, in the face of these challenges, which we all know, which needs to be acknowledged, there is something really profoundly powerful that happens. And it's that amazing people are taking action. And that action is what we're here tonight to celebrate. It's the innovation in how we deal with wastes. It's innovation in how we do renewable energy. It's breakthroughs in the way we do conservation activities. It's bold leadership in business who absolutely attest to not partnering with people who aren't showing the right true climate and green credentials. It's about the grassroots movements driven by ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I think this is what tonight really embodies. And every nominee, whether they're finalist or winner or not, every nominee out of the 60-odd people that were nominated represents really that refusal to accept that the future is out of our hands, right? It's nights like this that shine a light about not just recognising some of the excellent work that's been going on, but it actually shows what potential and opportunities there are. It helps us to really remember that the progress is happening. Maybe not at the rate we want it, but progress is happening, and that solutions really truly do exist. But most importantly, as I said before, it's that what's behind those changes and those innovation is people. People like you, people like me, people like my son. And recognising those things that are working is a really powerful thing to do, because when we celebrate success, we're not just celebrating the thing that happened or applauding what's been done, we're really inspiring what comes next. So a single idea that we recognise here tonight could just scale up tomorrow, or maybe it's a project that we applaud today that then transforms a whole community in another area next year. But a story here that one of our finalists that you hear about them tonight, I hope more than anything ignites and activates someone that's always wanted to but hasn't yet realised their own role in that global effort. Because solving that climate emergency is not up to just a few of us. It's actually an opportunity for many of us, and we've all got a role to play. And history has shown us time and time again that when humanity is faced with really its greatest tests, we are capable of remarkable transformation. We innovate, we collaborate, and we thrive. And our movement needs to come together so that we can do those things. To those of us who might not be coming up on stage tonight, your contributions aren't less significant. They absolutely should be applauded, because progress is built on countless efforts, many of which go unseen, but all of which matter. I think ultimately, before we move into the formalities of the event, I do just want to declare the idea that every single person plays a role, whether you donate a little bit of money, whether you sign a petition, or whether you're actually actively a part of a group that's being nominated tonight or a finalist. Every little bit that you do is contributing to deciding what our future looks like. So I thank all of you in this room for being here, and I really look forward to sharing the celebrations of the Future Awards. So thank you very much. So I'm going to do my very best not to cry, and I do have a history when things get emotional that I do cry on stage, but forgive me, I'm a perimenopausal woman. But I am starting off with our Lifetime Achievers. And this is a spectacular category of people who have dedicated their lives. And the most amazing thing about our Lifetime Achievers this year is that we are recognising people that have built community, and they've built that within the future generations. Each and every one of our Lifetime Achievers this year have played a pivotal role in how the next generations take on conservation or activation or advocacy. And I think that's really important. So these inspiring leaders join a group of legendary environmental champions who've spent their whole entire lives working towards a sustainable future for our planet. We're honoured to acknowledge just a few tonight, 3 in fact. And once each recipient is announced, which will be in no particular order, we're going to watch a short pre-recorded video about them, followed by a short speech that I'll give on their behalf. And after that, the recipient will be invited to the stage in order to accept your award. And before we continue, I did just want to point out that this particular award does have images and mentions people who have passed. And I do want to really sincerely acknowledge and pay respects to their families and communities. I'm not going to cry. Okay, I'm going to invite Sue, who's our co-vice president of our board, up towards the stage. She will be passing the award on this evening. And in no particular order, our first award goes to Professor Emeritus Rod Wells AM.
Well, I grew up in the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney, in a gorgeous little town called Lura. For my Christmas present in 1946, there was Neville Cayley's What Bird Is That? And Ellis Troughton's Furred Mammals of Australia. And here I was living amongst those birds and those mammals. When I studied at high school, I couldn't study biology. I grew up in the mountains surrounded by birds and mammals and just gorgeous vegetation and so forth. But you weren't allowed to study biology if you're in the A stream. I joined the University of New South Wales Speleological Society, going off exploring caves, and exploration is sort of part of my psyche. And I found my tribe. And we went on a big expedition to the Nullarbor in 1964. And we were joined on that trip by people from South Australia who were from the museum. And these were people that were making a living out of studying birds, mammals, natural history. So I tossed away my engineering career to the horror of my parents and those around me. And I went back as a mature age student. We crossed the River Murray on the ferry and went up and started to travel through the Mallee. And this is tough country. And then I saw these big mounds of dirt on the side of the road, and I stopped to have a look, and there's a wombat. And I asked myself, how on earth does an animal like that survive, raise its young in this dreadful looking dry country? First thing I'd say, if you've got a passion for it, follow your passion. Because there'll be plenty of people who tell you, no, you won't get a job on that. No. No, follow your passion.
Congratulations, Rod. Absolutely worthy winner. I do want to say a little bit about him. So Rod Wells is widely regarded as the founding father of paleontology at Flinders University. And in fact, I'm confident there's some students of yours within the room. His journey to that title was anything but conventional. As you've heard, it was driven by an insatiable curiosity and a passion for exploration. He left his career in engineering to follow his dream of studying the natural world, graduating with first-class honours in zoology before dedicating his life to uncovering Australia's deep fossil history. Now, Professor Wells' discoveries have been nothing short of remarkable. In 1969, he unearthed one of Australia's most significant paleontological finds, an immense deposit of extinct Ice Age mammals in Victoria Cave at Naracoorte. This is a site that helped lead that particular cave to World Heritage listing in 1994. He also pioneered research into the southern hairy-nosed wombat. As you heard, he was amazed by their ability to succeed. And he's established what is today's Australia's premier paleontological research laboratory at Flinders University. He's now in honorary retirement, but he continues to contribute to fossil research across SA. And his legacy, as I mentioned, doesn't live on just in the discoveries he's made, but is also in the generations of scientists that he's inspired. And tonight we are very, very proud to honour a man who proves that when you follow your dream, you ignore the naysayers, the rewards can be extraordinary. Welcome to the stage, Rod. Perfect. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Our second award goes to the wonderful, do you know what, the most wonderful thing I ever hear is when the young people in my team talk about some of our elders and the way some of my team have talked about Sue Coleman-Haseldean has been extraordinary. So congratulations, you are our second Lifetime Achiever.
I was born into the environment, to country. It was the love of country right from the start, where we had freedom, we had animals, we had bush tucker, we had everything we needed off the land. Water supply, even the underground water. And that love has just kept coming and coming, and I've passed it on to my kids, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and a lot of friends that have come along over the years to help. 20 years now that I first asked for help from so-called greenies, but I call them my family now. I look for help from others to help me look after the rock holes because things were getting out of hand, mining was threatening. And 20 years later, we have a whole new crew of young ones that have come along over the years, and we're still looking after country, we're still cleaning the water holes, we're still leaving fresh water for the animals, we're still enjoying our bush tucker. I'm from the far west coast of South Australia, and it's dry country, semi-desert where we go, where I grew up. And I just love the stories the oldies used to tell us and look after the water hole. Just love the whole place, it's home. And we don't own that land. We're only the keepers for the next generation. So I'm more determined than ever that the next generation is not going to inherit another Woomera rocket range. They're going to inherit country that is free. What I'm really proud of is getting the people together that have come over the years and keeping my family together, looking after country. I'm really proud of that, because without them, country would be destroyed. The award is not just mine, it belongs to everybody, even though I'm going to be the one standing up there getting it. But what it will do for me, hopefully make other people more aware that things can get done, to protect country, to protect the environment, but you must have help. You can't do it on your own.
Again, another very worthy recipient. And I'll just say a few words. Auntie Sue Coleman-Haseldean is a senior Gagatha elder based in Ceduna on the far west of South Australia. She's got a long legacy of caring and fighting for her country. She is also the president of the Australian Nuclear Free Alliance and has accepted the 2017 Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of ICAN, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. Auntie Sue is a nuclear test survivor. She was a child at Caniba Mission when the British set off their nuclear bombs to test at Maralinga and Emu Fields. She and her people are still feeling the impacts of these devastating weapons. For decades, Auntie Sue and her family have continued their culture and responsibility in caring for country. Shared knowledge, advocated for the protection of the Gagatha country. Twice annually, she takes family and friends on rock hole cleaning trips, which is how I know about Auntie Sue, because my staff have joined her. Visiting sacred sites, maintaining and cleaning the rock holes. These culturally significant sites are being endangered by rocket launches and landings on the so-called Caniba Test Range, conducted for military and commercial purposes. The rocket range is a militarised zone that exists right over the top of the special bush that Auntie Sue's people have been caring for and living with across millennia. And Auntie Sue is calling on all of you to join in protecting the Gagatha country and to stand up against militarisation and the continuation of colonisation. So I welcome you to the stage, Auntie Sue. Gorgeous. Aren't we lucky? We have so many amazing people. So many amazing people. Congratulations. The last one sits very close to my heart for our Lifetime Achievers tonight. As we honour, oh my God, I'm going to cry. We're going to honour Joan Gibbs. I'm not going to look at you, Michelle. Joan Gibbs, who many of us have been students of Joan's over the years. She spent 36 years shaping the next generation of environmental scientists at the University of South Australia. She taught restoration ecology with a passion that her students didn't just observe, we actually lived it. With her distinctive, very gentle North American accent, her unmistakable sense of purpose, Joan was the kind of educator who made you believe that this work truly, truly mattered. It was never just a job for her, it was a calling. And I have distinct memories as a young 18, 19-year-old going to Hacks Peninsula and doing vegetation surveys down the Coorong. I remember going back to her house and not wanting to get out of the car because they had a crazy emu that used to lock you in. I remember spending endless times on your gorgeous property. I remember doing some Native American sweat lodges on there. She incorporated students into her life and just formed part of the family. It was absolutely life-changing for me. Joan went above and beyond for her students in a way that left lasting marks on their lives and careers. She championed women in science at a time when universities were far less welcoming. She opened doors for countless young environmentalists, helping them to secure their first field placements, their first taste of real conservation work, and confidence to keep going. She was, by all accounts, a fierce advocate herself, but a very gentle soul. Slightly eccentric, but enormously magnetic. Joan understood what many overlooked, that 97% of biodiversity lives in the top 10 centimetres of soil, and that true ecological recovery has to start from the ground up. And her approach was using native grass seeds, biochar, and community volunteers. It was kind of innovative, but super practical. She reduced bushfire fuel loads and rebuilt ecosystems from scratch. Joan also had profound respect for Indigenous knowledge. She worked with Aboriginal elders and communities on restoration projects from Ceduna to the Flinders Ranges, Yorke Peninsula, Adelaide, and the Coorong. Sadly, Joan passed away in January of this year, but tonight we honour her legacy in her absence. The restored landscapes, the careers she quietly shaped, and the students whose lives she changed are her lasting gift to Australia. And we are very proud to posthumously recognise Joan Gibbs as a lifetime achiever. And we extend our deepest, deepest condolences to her family and friends. And I'd like to really welcome Joan's partner, Terry Reardon, to the stage to collect the Lifetime Achiever on her behalf. Actually make that her gorgeous daughter, Rochelle. And for any of you who know Joan, you would absolutely be standing here saying, oh my God, she looks like her mother. Trust me, she's heard it before. But she's also living the legacy of her mother as well. And she's brought a number, not enough for all of you, so it's best dressed, but she's brought a number of native seeds and she's got a box of them. So if anybody is interested afterwards, please do go see Rochelle and pick some up on Joan's behalf.
Joan's father was into grafting trees in the United States, and he taught her a lot about the environment where she grew up there in Virginia. She just had such a passion for the trees in the orchard.
Joan came to Australia and then enrolled in the University of Adelaide to do a PhD on samphires. But she really quickly made a big group of friends in the environment. And so she did lots and lots of trips to the country and began to learn about the plants and birds.
This is the Cuddly Creek Conservation Park. Mum was an advocate for environmental restoration of this area. She was just involved in so many different committees and so many different projects for environmental restoration and sustainability of our state, and involving Indigenous people in finding their roots back to their land.
She was so passionate and fierce about the environment and traditional knowledge, but she did it in a way that was really gentle and leading, and certainly her legacy is going to be all the students and all the people who have touched base with her and carry on her work.
She's just one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. She has thousands of students and thousands of people that look up to her and now are advocates for the environment because of what she has taught them.
She was kind of a mother and aunt to a lot of people. So I think I'm just proud of the fact that she was so engaged and so passionate, but had time for people and time for us.
I think she'd be overwhelmed and very proud of the work that she's done.
She's quite humble about her achievements, but I think she's proud of them. And I think she'd be really delighted that she was getting this award.
I think she would say that the effort is made by all of the people that are passionate about the environment. She's just one part of it. The work is by everybody that has love for conservation.
And I'm sure around the room, if I asked for a show of hands, there'd be a large proportion of you that put your hand up if you've been touched at some point in your lives by any one of those 3 Lifetime Achievers we're awarding tonight. So very worthy recipients, thank you. Next, we are moving on to the Working Together Award. At the heart of many successful environmental programs, as we know, there are community groups. There are associations or not-for-profits all working together to address issues that are too large for an individual to take on. And tonight we honour 3 groups working on programs that had achieved significant outcomes over the past 12 months. Each of tonight's finalists have not only achieved their own goals, but inspired other South Australians to engage more deeply with nature. And I'd like to invite Ben Bruce, the CE of the Department for Environment and Water, to introduce our finalists tonight, and David Bacon to present the Working Together Awards.
Thanks, Kirsty, and I'll confess to being one of Rod's students many, many years ago. So for this award, the finalists are the SA Phytoplankton Group. When South Australia's harmful algal bloom emerged as one of the most destructive environmental events in the nation's history, the SA Phytoplankton Group didn't wait to be asked. They coordinated microscopic analysis, field sampling and coastal observations across hundreds of kilometres of coastline, building a publicly accessible real-time dashboard that combines citizen science with government monitoring data in a way never seen before in Australia. Their work empowered communities to make informed health decisions and supported industries navigating economic uncertainty, with researchers in California describing their dataset as unmatched anywhere in the world. This is what working together looks like at its very best. Clap for them, I think. So our second finalist is the Greening Rosewater Loop. The Greening Rosewater Loop group set out to transform the disused Gilman marshalling yards into a thriving green corridor for people and wildlife. And in 2025, more than 90 community members worked together to plant over 1,400 local native plants, clock up 1,183 volunteer hours, and collaborate with more than a dozen organisations, from local councils to cycling groups to environmental education bodies. What makes this group remarkable is not just what they've planted, but the community that they've grown. New friendships, shared morning teas, and a collective determination to turn a neglected eyesore into something living and biodiverse. This is grassroots environmental action at its most joyful and most powerful. Okay, our third finalist is Investigator College. Investigator College has brought together students, traditional owners, scientists and conservation groups to tackle the real and urgent decline of turtle populations at its Currency Creek Eco-Centre. The college has trialled innovative methods, including train detection dogs to locate hidden nests and the application of sound and light-based fox deterrents, with early results showing promising reductions in predation. What sets this project apart is that young people enrolled in conservation programs are not just participating. They are leading elements of the work, collecting data, reporting findings and contributing to research that is informing conservation practice well beyond the school gate. It is a powerful example of what happens when education meets community, culture and science. Round of applause. And the winner of the 2026 Working Together Award is the Greening Rosewater Loop. welcome Lindy Nielsen to accept the award.
Gorgeous. I love that you brought your own fan club. That's fantastic. But I will also say that, oh my gosh, everyone there was a winner. Outstanding, outstanding work going on. And it was on the judging panel such a hard category just to have finalists. Such amazing work. Well done. Our next award is the Innovation Award. And in some respects, this is one of the most inspiring and honestly led me to want to create some kind of, I don't know, innovative forum where we just showcase this stuff over and over again. It is so incredibly inspiring. We know that innovation propels us. It's the engine of change, laying pathways to new opportunities and providing solutions to otherwise insurmountable problems. And the 2026 Innovation Award is presented for the development or application of an innovative process, practice, or technology which has significantly increased our ability to reach a sustainable future. I'd like to welcome Professor Andy Lowe from the Adelaide University's Environment Institute to introduce our finalists, and David Bacon back to the stage to present the awards.
Thanks so much, and thanks so much, Kirsty. And it's great to be able to support these awards. So Environment Institute and Adelaide University are a supporter, and we've supported this event for a number of years. Might seem a bit strange that a university might do this, but it's really that connection between community implementation, working with government, but also getting the science and research into translation and into operation that we feel very passionately about. Thank you, Minister, for some of the funding that has gone into the environment, and particularly around shellfish reefs and also the Clean Rivers programme. Again, a strong partnership opportunity. Without further ado, the finalists in no particular order. We have Dr. Cameron Shearer. PFAS are known as forever chemicals. They're found in firefighting foam, non-stick cookware, and now the blood of over 85% of Australians. They don't break down naturally, and until now, the only way to destroy them risked releasing harmful byproducts into the atmosphere. But Cameron Shearer at Adelaide University has developed a clean alternative, a photocatalytic powder activated by light, including sunlight, that breaks down the near indestructible chemical bonds in PFAS and produces only harmless fluoride as a byproduct. Already tested successfully on contaminated water from a South Australian groundwater treatment plant, this technology presents a sustainable pathway to cleaning our waterways and protecting the ecosystems that depend on them. The great thing is just reading through these, just how amazing some of our homegrown work is here within the States. So anyway, I'll go on. Associate Professor Mark Thayer and Professor Holger Meyer have developed a smart stormwater system that uses machine learning and real-time control to strategically store and redirect stormwater to reduce flooding, cut infrastructure costs, and double the water available for irrigation around urban biodiversity corridors. This technology has already been implemented in the Pasadena and Trinity Valley catchments, where it was chosen over conventional upgrades specifically because it could be installed without removing trees. With a $2 million demonstration project now underway, this is the kind of innovation where environmental outcomes drive engineering decisions, making all the difference. We also have Karen Jones-Hauser, the Good Catch. Every time we wash synthetic clothing, hundreds of thousands of invisible microplastic fibres escape into our waterways. Karen's mission has been to stop this pollution at source with the Good Catch, the world's first externally fitted microplastic filter for washing machines, manufactured from South Australian recycled plastic and capturing up to 93% of microfibres before they reach the wastewater system. The Good Catch has already secured distribution through the Good Guys with international interest from European microplastics pioneers. It is a deceptively simple innovation with potential for enormous cumulative impact and proof that environmental solutions don't need to be complicated to be powerful. And the winner is Karen Jones-Hauser, the Good Catch.
don't you just want the rest of the world to know? Well done. Congratulations, everyone. Those finalists were so hard out of a list of many. I'm not kidding and I'm not exaggerating. There is amazing stuff going on, and hopefully some of you are inspired to get involved or to continue, but we are finding solutions. Our next award is the Leaf Just Time Young Achiever Award. This is such an inspiring one every year. We've actually talked, because this one goes up, I think from memory, to 25, 28, I can't remember. But we have talked because we often get young uni students in amongst young people who are doing amazing things, and I really feel like we need another category. So if anyone's got some spare money, they want to donate to our awards, let's create another award for those young people who are doing amazing things. Okay, so let me get on with it. The Leaf Justum Young Achiever Award recognises the dedicated young people who are committed to improving environmental outcomes for our state. This award specifically honours Leaf Justum, an inspiring young South Australian who is passionate about raising awareness of our country's dependence on fossil fuels. He was encouraging the use of renewable energy for the future of our planet. And tonight's finalists have been nominated for their inspiring work that captures the spirit of Leaf Justum's life and legacy. And I'd really like to have a warm welcome for the gorgeous Helen Taylor, who really deserves an award of her own. She's spectacular. That no matter what life throws at her, she comes to the stage to present this award. So Helen, can you please come up to present the award? So our finalists, in no particular order, are first up, Jakira Telfer. Jakira Telfer is a fearless First Nations advocate. She's a public speaker, writer, dancer who has consistently fought to ensure Aboriginal and youth voices are centred in the conversations that matter the most. Jakira is currently serving as the youngest state coordinator of the Yes 23 campaign. She sits on the South Australian Youth Ministers Advisory Council and holds space for community grief in the face of the algal bloom crisis, while continuing to advocate for the communities whose connection to country is still being devastated. She builds a bridge through the truth-telling, through sharing of our culture in both speech and dance, and she is absolutely a powerful reminder that environmental advocacy is always at the heart of our belonging. Our next finalist is Alex Flynn Taylor. Alex Flynn Taylor is doing something genuinely new. He's listening to the soil. As an emerging researcher at Flinders Uni, Alex has pioneered the application of ecoacoustics to below-ground environments. He's been developing a non-invasive approach to assessing soil health and has already contributed to publications in leading international journals while volunteering with the Bob Brown Foundation and Conservation Council's Dump Santos campaign to translate complex ecological research into public advocacy at a time when our soils are under unprecedented pressure. From climate change, land use, Alex is helping make them visible, measurable and valued. Our last finalist is Mabel Day. Mabel is Adelaide University PhD student who's mapping the hidden scales of PFAS contamination across South Australia. Sampling drinking water from the Adelaide Hills to the CBD to the coast and analysing natural water sources near high-risk sites like the Barcoo Outlet near Adelaide Airport. But Mabel's work doesn't stop just at detection. She's equally committed to getting the science out of the lab and into public conversation. She's won the Australian final of the Falling Walls pitch competition in 2025 and presented on the global stage in Berlin, appearing across ABC Radio and national publications, and most recently speaking at the SA Royal Australian Chemical Institute and International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry Global Women's Breakfast to inspire the next generation of women in STEM. In a field that can feel deeply technical and distant, Mabel was determined to make the invisible risks of forever chemicals visible and impossible to ignore. So a huge round of applause for those three finalists. And the winner of the 2026 Leaf Justum Young Achiever Award is Jakira Telfer. Jakira messaged me this morning that both her and her sister are wickedly unwell and she couldn't attend tonight. Okay, seriously, if you're not inspired yet, I don't know what else to do. We are moving towards the end, or actually I think we're about halfway through. The next award is the Conservation Science Prize. South Australia's reputation as a world leader, as we've now seen, is immeasurable. But we've been a leader in the past for renewable energy, conservation and sustainability, underpinned by bold and innovative research. Now, in its third year, the Conservation Science Prize recognised the development of application-ready research and successful application of science into real-world conservation outcomes. And tonight's nominees have conducted significant research with long-term impacts using either an interdisciplinary approach or demonstrated partner delivery with a broad range of stakeholders. And I'd like to welcome the wonderful Vicky Jo Russell to the stage to introduce these. Vicky Jo is Chair of the Nature Festival. She's on the Parks and Wilderness Council and Executive Manager Community Habitat Programs at Trees for Life.
Thank you. These finalists, they're mythbusters. They prove that they're not only bringing a lot of brains, but they are bringing a lot of heart to these problems. They are a very inspiring bunch, so I will get on with them. Tonight's finalists are Dr. Nina Wooten. Dr. Nina is a marine scientist at Adelaide University whose work on plastic pollution is defined by one clear goal: making sure research actually changes things. Leading a collaboration of over 40 researchers to develop Australia's first field manual for monitoring microplastics, connecting thousands of students with marine conservation through the Finding the Fab Five program, and partnering with remote Indigenous ranger groups through the Toys for Turtles, alliteration, also a theme, love it, to address marine debris while reinforcing the cultural importance of sea country. She's recognised as South Australia's Young Tall Poppy of the Year in 2025. Nina is a scientist who leads with both rigour and heart. Our second finalist is Janine Baker. Marine ecologist Janine Baker has spent more than 3 decades devoted to marine conservation, pioneering the use of iNaturalist as a citizen science tool in South Australia, and founding the South Australian Conservation Research Divers Group, connecting thousands of divers and ocean lovers with meaningful conservation work, from tracking leafy sea dragons, that's when I first met Janine, to detecting marine pests. When the harmful algal bloom struck, she helped coordinate a marine mortality data set of more than 13,000 observations across 789 species. A body of evidence so significant that researchers in California described it as unmatched anywhere in the world. That is a legacy built one careful observation at a time. And our last finalist, Professor Phil Casey. Professor Phil is one of the world's leading authorities on environmental biosecurity and wildlife crime. Director of Adelaide University's Wildlife Crime Research Hub, author of over 400 peer-reviewed publications cited more than 23,000 times, and an advisor to bodies including Interpol's Wildlife Crime Working Group and the US Fish and Wildlife Service, whose research is directly shaping policies and risk models that protect Australia's native wildlife from invasive species and illegal trade. In 2025, he appeared as an expert on the ABC series Eat the Invaders. A lot of us would have seen that. Hosted the inaugural Wildlife Crime in Our Backyard showcase at the Adelaide Zoo, and launched a new Crime Stoppers SA campaign to encourage the public to report wildlife trafficking. Because he understands that protecting biodiversity requires not just research, but a community willing to act. An extraordinary group. It is my very great pleasure to announce that tonight's winner is Janine Baker.
Unbelievable. Again, so many worthy winners, right? So many worthy winners. Now, you're sick to death of hearing from me, I'm sure, so I'm going to hand it over to someone who's not shy of speaking himself, to the wonderful Professor Chris Daniels, to present Green Adelaide's Peltzer Prize.
Thank you very much, Kirsty. And as Chair of Green Adelaide Landscape Board, I'm very proud to say that we've developed, support and promote the Peltzer Award as a method for showcasing and supporting those individuals and organisations that actively demonstrate the Green Adelaide ideals and live and breathe our purpose, which is to create a cooler, greener, wilder, more climate resilient city. August Wilhelm Peltzer is one of Adelaide's first leaders to encapsulate this vision. Peltzer was born in Bremen in 1862. He joined his Lutheran relatives in Adelaide in 1886, applying his talents to gardens in wealthy suburbs like Unley Park. Peltzer had trained extensively in Germany and then London, where he had perfected his English and learnt nursery techniques for growing stock of the kind he envisaged for Adelaide. A Fellow of the Royal Horticultural Society, he had also won prizes in South Australia. In 1899, he won the job as city gardener. He was methodical, persistent, visionary, and a very good communicator. He must have been personable and politically astute enough to forge strong and productive alliances with the councillors who supported him for more than 3 decades, including through World War I, when anti-German feeling was high. Peltzer retired at 70 in 1932, and he died 2 years later and was almost completely forgotten. However, by the time Peltzer retired, he had transformed the 800-hectare parklands. He also connected the whole with 30 hectares of formal gardens, playgrounds and avenues of trees into the city's inner suburbs. He planted thousands of trees, and in the process he helped excite Adelaideans about the parklands, burnishing the garden city image we still boast about, and in his case, in the European garden-esque style. So it might seem ironic to many here tonight for me to be delivering an award that honours this man who almost single-handedly reversed the devastated cleared parklands and empty barren streets of Adelaide to create this verdant and life-filled space we know and love. And yet there has never been a more important time to recognise the man, the work, what he stands for, and to recognise and honour those who have followed in his footsteps. We are living in highly challenging times with multiple tensions impacting society's views on nature and so our capacity to support nature. We have recently endured a large number of environmental disasters: the drought, the 2020 bushfires, the Murray floods, the disappearance of surface water from the Mount Lofty Ranges and the southeast, and the declining urban tree canopy have all savaged the state's biodiversity. These repeated environmental disasters, along with climate change, rapid population growth, changing community expectations around life and lifestyle, and a lack of understanding of the importance of nature, have all impacted our view of, connection with, and protection of nature. Everyone in this room has been affected by these events and has demonstrated a different way of responding to them, personally and professionally. Whilst we can and do our best to repair and regenerate nature, our biggest issue is despair. So of late, I have been reading a lot of the work of Paul Schifferke. Paul is a collapsologist, someone who sees the decline of the world ecologies and our declining capacity and interest in doing anything about it. He focuses on the despair we all feel with each passing day, and so developed methodologies to support communities such as ours to respond in meaningful ways, whilst also developing protective mechanisms to prevent our despair from becoming overwhelming. Schifferke identified 3 things. Firstly, know where you are on what he called the ladder of awareness. Paul Schifferke's ladder had 5 stages. Stage 1 is dead asleep. Stage 2, aware of one fundamental problem. 3, awareness of many problems. 4, awareness of the interconnection between many problems. And 5, the highest state, awareness that the predicament encompasses all aspects of life. Everyone here in this room is level 5, except Jerry Butler, who's probably at level 6. This ladder helps you know where you are, and when you are talking to others, develop the best methods for engagement, for those not necessarily at your level. Second thing is to choose the role you wish to play. You can be activist, teacher, influencer, policymaker, writer, governor, researcher, scientist, communicator, engager, planter, protector, funder, carer, healer, philanthropist, the list goes on. There are many roles to play, and we don't and can't do all of them. Choosing your path and supporting others in theirs is vital. Diversity is the key. And thirdly, and most importantly, act local. Shafurka argues that joining a local group, doing your bit in your own patch, is one of the personally most rewarding ways to do your bit and make a difference. Local action is not only meaningful for yourself, your group and your location, but it is seen by others. Others watching, but without the knowledge or capacity to act themselves, will join in when they see what you do. And nothing shifts public sentiment and ultimately government policy like the success of on-ground local action. Everyone is watching what you do. So those things, those actions that you do make a huge difference. For me, I've taken to do this crazy radio show that I've done for 23 years, which involves secret sounds. And I think I've already had 4 arguments with people here about whether one sound was a black duck or a cormorant. But I do get to talk about the prolegs of caterpillars or how to tell a male willy wagtail apart from another female willy wagtail. And that gives me enormous satisfaction and joy about nature. And this is what we see with Peltzer's life work and in the Peltzer awardees. These individuals, in fact, all of the nominees, have in their own way responded to Shafurka's five-pronged approach. So we're lucky to be able to offer the Peltzer Award, and we had a very large number of nominees from a very diverse array of occupations that I've listed here. So we have 4 certificates of commendation and then only 1 winner. The winner will receive a $5,000 cheque and also a wonderful handcrafted plaque that is done by Rob Morrison, who is a legend, of course, in the environmental world. So the first certificate of merit is awarded to Professor Wayne Meyer and for urban wetlands. Professor Meyer has spent decades ensuring the ecological integrity of South Australian landscapes. As chair of the Brown Hill Creek Association and Friends of Brown Hill Creek, leading the restoration of Wirraparinga, Brown Hill Creek Urban Corridor, helping preserve a 450-year-old Ghana shelter tree, voluntarily maintaining a Murray Mallee research site for 16 years that feeds into a national and global network tracking climate and ecological change, and translating complex landscape science into accessible community knowledge through schools, community groups, and events like WOMA Adelaide's Eco Talks. Thank you. Congratulations, Wayne. Our second certificate of merit goes to Mark Richards, and this is for regional communities. Mark has been the driving force behind a remarkable transformation in conservation in Victor Harbour, formalising the Friends of Hindmarsh, founding and leading Biodiversity Victor Harbour to more than 130 members within 2 years, establishing a native pop-up nursery that propagated 1,500 endemic seedlings across 2 seasons, and leading the inaugural Bluff Community Planting Festival, where over 110 participants planted 2,500 native seedlings in a single day. Congratulations to Mark. All right, come on up behind. Have we got Mark here? And Andy, can you represent Wayne, please? And this is Brenton here, Brenton Greer, director, if you don't know him. Yeah. He described himself as the Delvine Delaney to my Tony Barber. And I think you can see he's stunningly gorgeous. Oh, sorry. All right. Our third certificate of merit is for urban biodiversity, goes to David Howlett. David has spent 4 decades quietly transforming degraded urban landscapes into thriving ecosystems. From his early work establishing key biodiversity sites across Burnside Council to managing coastal dunes, riparian zones, wetlands and grasslands through his own businesses, to spending 30 years restoring 10 acres of sclerophyll forest on his own property in Ironbank. Congratulations, David. Our final certificate of merit is for urban grasslands and goes to Max McQuillan. Max initiated and led the Glenthorne Community Grassland Project from the ground up, coordinating site preparation, direct seeding, rigorous ecological field experiments, spatial mapping, interpretive signage, guided walking tours and community monitoring programs across a nationally threatened grey box derived grassland ecosystem. What sets Max's work apart is his conviction that restoration must also rebuild people's relationships with the natural world. Congratulations, Max. But the winner of this year's Peltzer Award is Dr. Jake Robinson. Dr. Robinson is a South Australian environmental scientist and author whose work explores microbial ecology, biodiversity and ecosystem restoration. As a restoration scientist and science communicator, his work has significantly strengthened how South Australians understand and connect with urban nature. Through his extensive public talks and workshops, books, seminars and working with children's educators, he is dedicated to making environmental science engaging and accessible to the public. His book, Invisible Friends, Tree Wilding and the Nature of Pandemics have inspired both the general public and the next generation of ecologists and landscape architects to think more deeply about biodiversity in our city. His co-authored report on next generation biodiversity monitoring in the Adelaide Parklands has also helped him inform how the City of Adelaide can better understand, restore and communicate the ecological value of this unique urban landscape.
Okay, we are moving towards the end. It is hot in here and I know these are long, but so important. And I'm sure you are still inspired as we go. I'm just going to look ahead because I think this might be the last one. Yes, it is. So our next award category is the Jill Hudson Award for Environmental Protection. This one was the one that David mentioned earlier, that's in its 28th year. The annual Jill Hudson Award for Environmental Protection is presented in memory of teacher and environmental advocate Gillian Hudson. This prestigious award is given to South Australian who has made an outstanding contribution to protecting our state's environment. In the spirit of Jill's activism, special consideration is given to nominees who have had to contend with significant government, political, corporate, media or institutional prejudice in their efforts to mobilise public opinion to protect the environment. And I'd like to welcome back David Bacon to introduce the finalists for this category and Sue Richardson to the stage to present this year's awards.
The first finalist is Associate Professor Jochen Kempf. When South Australia's harmful algal bloom was still emerging, Associate Professor Kempf had an experienced hydrodynamic modeller and a physical oceanographer with strong interests in upwelling processes, conducted independent, unfunded modelling that provided one of the earliest and most important public warnings about the scale and longevity of what was coming. That work helped lay the groundwork for the government's eventual management response, including the Algal Bloom Summer Plan, even if that contribution has largely gone unacknowledged. His willingness to step outside the academy and engage directly with the public is a reminder that great science is most powerful when it's shared. The second finalist tonight is Dr. Faith Coleman. Faith Coleman was quite literally born with her feet in saline muds, growing up exploring tidal deltas alongside a family of environmentalists and primary producers. And today she's one of the nation's most respected estuarine ecologists and the youngest person ever accepted as a full fellow to the Royal Society of South Australia. Over the past 18 months, as I know many of you have seen in the media. She has devoted extraordinary personal time and expertise to South Australia's harmful algal bloom crisis, becoming a trusted voice for fishers, conservation groups, traditional owners and farmers alike, translating complex science into clear, accessible language while remaining calm, factual and utterly free of political spin, even under intense public and media scrutiny. When political interference and lack of transparency made her position on government algal bloom panels untenable, Faith resigned. And then went further, nominating as an independent candidate for the SA Legislative Council on the basis of that a diverse crossbench is essential for effective scrutiny of legislation. Her fearless leadership, expert guidance and unwavering dedication to put good science first made her a worthy nominee for this award. And our third finalist is Triton Tunis-Mitchell. Triton has spent over a decade building community care and is using it as a force for environmental good, running Humankind, a B Corp yoga studio offering free membership for First Nations, directing tens of thousands of dollars in seed funding to local environmental initiatives each year, and playing a key role in the circular initiative in Maiponga, regenerating 264 acres of Kaurna land. Some of you might have been here a couple of years ago when one of our community initiatives, SAGE, a community of young people, won an award here. Humankind provided the seed funding for that. He has partnered with the Bob Brown Foundation and Conservation SA to mobilise public action around voting for nature, joined frontline environmental actions himself, and in 2026 raised over $20,000 for environmental charities through his studio fundraiser alone. Triton is proof that community leadership, when rooted in genuine care, can ripple outwards in remarkable ways. And while it can be extremely difficult to decide these awards at times, I think that everyone will agree tonight that with our choice in the winner being Dr. Faith Coleman.
Exceptional, yet again. Everyone's a winner. That does bring us to the end of the formalities. I do want to thank our event partners again, of course, Conservation Council, Green Adelaide, the Department for Environment and Water, and Adelaide University Environment Institute. More thanks again to our new minister who attended and stuck out the night. If you do get a chance, please go introduce yourself, tell your story, because the more that the minister gets to understand the plight that we're under and the urgency we have for change, hopefully she'll be a great advocate for us within Parliament. I want to thank Cliffy Wilson, obviously, again, for a very personal, enduring welcome to country. I want to thank my judging committee, who it is so hard picking finalists. And we are not always in a full agreement, but it is a really honourable job to have looking through the 60-odd applications we got this year. And incredibly empowering. Again, I just constantly saying, how do we let everybody know the amazing work we're doing? I want to acknowledge formally our amazing musicians here tonight. Alan Valdos, who's been with us for, I think, for 4 years, and quietly plays the most beautiful music in the corner. If you do get a chance, do go up and say your thanks because he's gorgeous. I want to thank our amazing photographer, Darren Clements, and our videographer, Jerry Zimmer, both of which have been with us for a very long time, tirelessly ushering us in the right direction and producing some incredible collateral that we can use to promote the amazing work of South Australians. I really, really want to thank our amazing team at Conservation Council. We have a very, very, very small staff cohort, and I threw one of our newest staff members, Anna, into it this year to organise our awards. She's hiding in the corner, but she did an exceptional job. But as a small team, it is not just one, it's the many. And I think for me, for all of you, I want you to take that away. Anna didn't do this on her own. She had every member of the team that contributed in some way that made this night happen. And it's the same thing for the outcomes we're looking to achieve. It's not up to me, it's not up to the minister, it's up to all of us to continue to work together and be a part of that movement of change. My final comments I want to thank all the finalists, the nominees, the finalists and the winners. Congratulations, you are so, so worthy. The only other thing I want to say is one of our sponsors pulled out at the last minute for these awards. So if anybody does have it within them to provide some funding or a little bit of cash, every little bit of money helps. We do have some QR codes. I think we've got a Square reader upstairs and downstairs. If you're able to give a little, please do, because every little bit helps. And hopefully we'll see you again at the 2027, and please do put your nominations in, and we'll see you at the 2027 Environment Awards. Thanks everyone.